Hello everyone and welcome back to the GTR Player Podcast. We're starting a new series today, which is dubbed Faction Framework. And here with us, we have none other than Jonny from Yorkshire Kill Team. Welcome, Jonny.
Hello everyone.
Great to have you here, mate. Thanks so much for joining us on our very first episode of this Faction Deep Dive.
Well, looking forward to it.
Now, Jonny, tell me, last season, so ITC 2025, number one globally for Exaction Squad.
Yeah, so that's a story. So I picked up Exaction a year ago, or a little before then, off the back of one of the local club members telling me you should try this team. They're really good. So I put some time in, took them to events. I feel like I did really well with them, which is really good. There's quite a few Exaction players. Mikel is a lot of people will say Mikel's a really good player in the London scene. So I do want to shout out to Mikel and just say I've never played Mikel, and I'm sure he's going to be amazing. It's going to be a really good match when we eventually do play. I managed to get number one. Sometimes I pinch myself to understand how we got that far. But the Exaction Squad are a really good team, and they're a bit tactical and stuff. So yeah, it's impressive for me to reach number one, but there is other people out there that are at some point probably going to overtake me, which is great.
Yeah, of course, mate. I mean, they are fake internet points, right? But it's nice it's nice to have someone like yourself play that many games, join us on the show and share a little bit of insight to some of the people out there who are thinking about picking up their very first team, or like yourself, pivoting something towards a little bit more law-abiding, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've never before, obviously. I kind of got into them because the law were really good as well. So if you're a new player and they look really amazing as models, but they also play really well. So it ticked the boxes for me when I was looking at teams.
And for those that don't know, right, Exaction Squad or BDs are actually modelled off Judge Dredd models, right?
They are. I used to love Judge Dredd, the comics and everything back in the day. So when the models came out, they ticked a lot of the boxes, and the models are really good as well. I think it's a 2-box team. I think where you probably want some more subductors in there, but the specialists and most of the models look absolutely amazing. I will at some point show photos of the models I've won some best painted with my Exaction Squad as well. So I'll send some photos over at some point.
Please do, mate. We'll actually put them up on the YouTube. So when we're talking about them now, the pics will come up for you.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Fantastic, mate. And look, when we're looking at the Lawbringers, from a capability standpoint, the team playstyle to me seems like it's a little bit balanced, more like defensive control and a little bit more equipment and utility warfare. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, I would say that's about right. It's changed a little bit over the last year or so with the new edition. I call it wave, so like a wave style where you're sending your subjects in first and you're following it up. You have to be a bit more controlled, and again it's changed slightly from the previous TAC Ops to the new TAC Ops. But generally, yes, I would agree with you. It is very much a controlled play style, defensively play control style.
And being like the judge, the jury, the executioner, it's all about not rushing, right? But like methodically applying a little bit of pressure and then punishing any wrong moves from the opposing faction per se?
Yes, one of the tips I love really to answer this question would be to take a second back and reading the game, because as you say, it's about identifying the chink in the armor, the weak point, the model that's on its own, and capitalizing on that particular area. It's about kind of reading the game a little bit and not just rushing forward. Again, that defensive play style. You want to make sure people are getting into the areas you want them to be in, so to speak. So yeah, defensive control is a good way to describe it. And punishing and capitalizing on overextended models is also a thing to keep in mind.
And they play well as a utility team as well, don't they? I mean, that's essentially at the core of their jank.
Yeah, it's exactly so the specialists are really, and again, this is one of the benefits I like about them, is you've kind of got a tool for everything. So you've got the sniper, you've got close combat, you've got a 2 activation model in the dog and the leash master and the cyber mastiff. We actually call him Dog and Dogman in our club, so we have a special name for him. But there is something for everything, and you can the list building side of it is one of the better parts of it as well. You generally take a lot of subductors, but there is a tool for every problem, so to speak.
That's phenomenal. And you mentioned the leash master there, and I think that's a great cue in.
Yeah,
he's almost like the essential utility piece, right?
Yes, he's. I would like to say scarily underestimated. There is, we'll talk about this going forward, but there's lots of little plays you can use him with. But just the threat and the presence of the dog with his 10-inch charge really creates fear. People will not move forward, and if they do move forward, they again run into the problems of getting charged from the dog and activated with the leash master, and now there's a subductor next door to him. It's such a powerful piece, and it's not a slouch in combat, because when it is fighting, it's lethal 5s. It gets rending if you can change the order with the leash master. The leash master's probably shooting first or shooting second into combat as well. So I think there is some combos which we'll talk about later on, but yeah, you can really do damage and really do work with the dog.
And what's your ride or die, I guess, roster?
Oof. This is one of the harder questions, because they have so much, as you've said, utility and flexibility. Generally, you're taking a lot of subductors, and you're taking the Proctor Exaction subductor as well. So it's usually 4 subductors, and then the leader with the shield. The reason for that as the core group is because anything that gets caught up or tarpeted, as we like to call it, because people will charge the subductors, they get into combat with the subductors, and you parry out. So you're generally just parrying out things. And then the Malacator now is really powerful, so he's almost a must-have, giving out lethal 5s and severe, giving out the -1 mission action when it comes to taking. So he's your point taker more than anything else, and your spotting piece. The Dog and Dogman have a lot of play because of the GA2 and the threat range of the dog. The Revelatum is probably the only model, I think, that some people really have a 50-50 kind of like it or not. The Revelatum is good because you have a pre-reposition move, which means you can set up like an alpha strike with crack grenades, for example, and it also gives out Seek Light. So it's the only access you have to Seek Light. So this, again, is another utility piece. I've not had much success with the Revelatum, but I know some people swear by him. The other thing as well is the Castigator. It changes the breakpoint, so that one's 5/5 in combat. So that really changes the breaking points and can do real work against certain teams. And then so you kind of just go through. I don't usually take the Vigilance, the basic troopers. I think I've taken once or twice, and that's for more your matchups when you just want more shotguns. Shotguns seem to be the flavour of weapon that we're taking in most of that. But yeah, the Vox is also really good. The Vox is probably the second or third best comms guy in the game, just because you just need line of sight, so you don't need distance. So he's really good to put in the middle, get good visibility of your team, and giving out APL to things like your Weber and your grenade launcher. Weber is really strong as a destroying piece. Not very good against your more higher wound models or your better saving models, Marines, for example. The grenade launcher can do work, but I don't like it in on 4s. It's like crack grenades. You can guarantee when you need a big roll, you're not going to get it. So using the grenade launcher with things like Vantage, so you're automatically hitting one, and using your again, our faction rule where you can put down Mark for Justice tokens, which gives you punishing, and stacking these type of things on it makes the grenade launcher just that little bit better. The good thing as well, our other faction rule that ties into this, which plays into a lot of these teams, or these operatives I should say, is the grenade launcher can actually shoot into combat, which grenades you cannot, but the grenade launcher can. So you're on Vantage, you've given out punishing, you've got severe, even though they don't proc together. You're shooting with a piercing 1 crack grenade into combat. It adds a massive spike of damage. But in my play, I've always rolled 4 dice, and you can guarantee I'll whiff. So it does play in. It does play in.
It can whiff, mate. Whiff factor is definitely a thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And tell me, mate, your leash master and
yes.
just the area of threat, gigantic, right?
Yeah.
I've seen some absolutely dirty moves with the Proctor Exactor where he doesn't run in by himself, but essentially if he leads a charge, it can be quite devastating, right?
Yeah, so just to touch on some plays that kind of come into this. The Leash Master, first of all, the Cyber Mastiff, because of the 10-inch swift threat range, means you can put him in a stronghold that's protected, and everyone knows where the dog is. Everyone is petrified of the dog charging you. So it creates distance and space. So that's really good. As a defensive control team, having a sort of like a cannon ready to just fire up a missile that in chance can probably delete an 8-wound model for breakfast. It'd be quite simple to do. But tying that up with the Leash Master and activating twice. So again, the usual play is the dog would have the threat range. You would charge the dog into combat. You would follow that up with the Leash Master, which would then turn on the relentless rolls. So the dog is now really good in combat, and the whiff factor disappears a little bit. But the fact that you can shoot into combat with your 4.4 shotgun, hitting on 3s if you're within 6, with some of the ploys that you can use for rerolls, it means that dog, after the Leash Master is instigated and started, has an even easier time of eating whatever he's in combat with. So it's a very powerful piece.
That literally sounds so scary. It's not funny. It just sounds completely and totally OP, and against, Hand of the Archon or even Blades of Cain, it could certainly cause a whole lot of issues, right?
Yeah, anything with a lower wound count, so your 8 wounds or less. Again, we aren't getting too competitive. The 4 damage of shotguns and the dog. So anything that's divisible by 4 with the shotguns and obviously other stuff, you are hitting them in 2. You're killing most things with 2 hits, and it's the same with the dog, because if you are shooting something with the Leash Master, they're already half elf. You only need a single hit or a single crit to kill something with the dog. So you can butcher, and if you make it as your last activation, and then you win the next activation on the second turning point or third turning point, depending on when you play this, all of a sudden you've now got another 10-inch missile ready to go the next activation. So you are practically deleting and they have to deal with him. That's I think the scary thing is they have to deal with him. If they don't, these softer 8-wound teams, as you say, you Blades of Cain and all these different teams, Kazakin in some regards, they just get eaten, and the dog will just theoretically just run through the go through the kill zone, just eating different individuals, and the Leash Master is going to follow up, either kill someone, which again is scary, the fact that you can kill someone with the shotgun shot, and then move on with the dog and kill something else. You're killing 2 models a turn in some cases. It's pretty good.
That's insane, mate. That's insane. And mate, model less used, or I personally don't see it on the board very much, but your healer, the Cherugian?
Yeah, Cherrigan. Yeah.
Cherrigan.
Yeah, so the Cherrigan is so this is a very interesting. This is a model that has play. It is phased out a little bit now, but the play or the movement of this was the Cherrigan has an ability like most medics where if a model is downed, the medic can revive that model and put them back on 1. So this is fantastic for things like Subductors and Weber, because you move the Cherrigan in, you keep him in cover, you keep X model, whichever model you're wanting to keep alive, within its range, and then when they die, the medic brings them back up. Classic medic stuff, all good. The good thing about this, though, is we have a piece of equipment, we call it sunglasses, and what the sunglasses does is it stops any negative effects of APL. So what this means is, where the normal medic rules say that once you have been revived, you've lost an APL, but you can dash, With this, you don't need to. So you're not affected by the APL. So you've got a model, the Weber, who's moving forward, shooting everything he can see. They have to deal with him. They deal with him. They shoot him. They kill him. He bounces back up. He activates. He moves and dashes elsewhere. So he's such a problem piece. I mean, the only negative of this is you have to be careful of blast. Any smart player will blast the model, and it will blast obviously onto the Cherrigan, which will obviously have the blast effect. But just having this, and again, we used to run something called the subductor bunker, where you'd have the Cherrigan in the middle, in some cases, of a bunch of subductors. Subductors are going down. You can revive it once. You can heal it, but subductors can just run away and go and hide. Next turning point, your medic can go and heal them, and it just brings such a resistance, such a sturdiness to the team. It's not something I use very often, if I'm honest, because again, if my subductors are getting shot, I'm probably in the wrong position. So there is play for it. It is a really good tactic, and if you are new to the team, by all means try it and play it and experience it, and you get a good feeling for how that works. It definitely has play, but yeah, a tip from me is, if you are taking the Cherrigan a lot and you feel like you are resin models, it's probably because you're positioned a little bit wrong with your subductors. Just something to bear in mind.
Mate, you can tell I'd never heard the pronunciation of that model before, right? The Cherrigan. I was like trying to go with my Australian accent, Cherrugian, Cherrigan.
As a Yorkshire man as well, we don't really speak English. We speak Yorkshire. It's slightly different. So
that's gold, mate. And tell me, top 3 must-take operatives for people out there.
Oh, it's hard. So the Procto Exactant leader, straight up. The reason why he's good is because he has the Nuncio Aquila. The Nuncio Aquila minuses 1 mission actions on point, so you can place this or you can have it on the exact model. The reason why this is powerful is because you generally put it on the midpoint. So there's generally a scrap over the midpoint. This will tilt a lot of fights in your favor. It means you can run up and take a point, or you can make it harder for them to take a point. A tactic for the Procto Exactant, which I always like, is use it on Into the Dark or Tomb World, because that Nuncio Aquila makes it harder for you to open doors. So having a Wrecker Crew operative run up to a door and go, right, I'm going to open it and shoot. No, you're not, because there's a Nuncio Aquila which has made that mission action -1. You're now struggling to get through doors. Wreckers don't like doors anyway. That's one model that I would say is fantastic. Usually take it with a shot pistol. You can take it with a shotgun. It's a very good model. The next one, I think this counts as one model, but the Leash Master and the Cyber Mastiff, Dog and Dogman, they don't. They're not played all the time, but they're must-haves in certain matchups. Again, we've touched on it. The fact that you can double up on your activations if you're playing some of the TAC Ops Envoy, which I know we'll get into as such. But the Envoy aspect with the dog is really good. You send him off, score your Envoy in the first turning point, and then you can fire him like a missile. It's really good. And then the last one is the classic Subductor. Subductors are a must to this team. Sometimes you can take less, but generally you want to take more. The aim for a Subductor is to tar pit stuff. It's basically, I'm going to get you in combat, and I'm going to hold you here. You can't fall back, luckily, if you're using the equipment manacles. So someone gets into combat, you're parrying twice, you're fighting first on retaliation, they can't escape you, and you open up, again, possibilities for shooting into combat with different operatives. So yeah, so you're probably talking the Procto Exactant, the Cyber Mastiff and Leash Master, and of course the Subductor. But there's like we said earlier on, there's so many models that are useful. It's really hard just to pick 3, I'm afraid. But those 3 are the ones I'd probably say always consider. Do I need to take this or do I not? It's probably where I'd start.
Yeah, perfect, mate. Look, and going into kind of like the core mechanics, and you've explained some really interesting opportunities to stage threats and to also do recovery work. But I've seen these guys go absolutely bonkers on close quarters maps, right? Especially when they're playing a little bit more defensively, but reactively defensively, and punishing anybody that tries to mess with that defensive line. Can you share a bit of insight with regards to like the whole defensive engine that these guys have?
Yeah, so they are quite reactionary in some regards. I'll try and sometimes it can be quite hard to explain because it's about reading the game a little bit and looking at your threats.
Indeed.
But to give an example, we Raveners, we love Raveners on Into the Dark as a team, just because they want to pop up, so you can see where they're coming from with their tunnels. They're going to pop up, so I'm just going to slowly move this pack of 4 subductors, and I'm going to put them where you're probably going to jump out. So again, it's that reactionary piece. Okay, you've moved towards my point. I'm going to move my block towards where you're going to go. Then I'm going to follow up with the dog and the dogman. I'm also going to be ready with my shotgun. I've also got my mallocator ready. So as soon as, and this has happened in tournaments, I've had them pop up and go, okay, now I'm going to fight a subductor. Great, cool, I'd love you to fight a subductor. I'm fighting first. I'm parrying 2 of your hits. You've done X amount of damage. I'm still alive. Okay, so you're going to kill this subductor, but I've now shot you in combat. I've now shot you with the grenade launcher. I've now shot you with this. I've now shot you with that. And also, again, not to go into too much tack-ups, but one of the, not tack-ups, into strategic plays and firefight plays, there is a certain thing we have called a brutal backup, which is an example of what you're referring to, which is the defensive play style. Brutal backup means you can get into combat and you can have the combat support operative fight as well. So not only are you in this, I'm charging to your defensive line, I'm being tied up with these subductors, you're now shooting me in combat, but now you're going to charge me with a dog that has got relentless after being shot by a shotgun, and now this subductor that I thought was going to die on the next hit, all of a sudden is now bonking me again with his bonk stick. Which again is just chipping away. Subductors are really good at chipping away. So the defensive line, they're like glue, where as soon as you get stuck on a subductor, all of a sudden there's another subductor, there's a dog, there's shooting, and it's almost like you swarm, as we were saying earlier on, you're jumping onto overextended models and using your defensive line to swarm onto that overextended model.
That's so good. That's actually disgusting, right? Like it's solid. Yeah. It's solid gold. But look, can you give us one more strategic ploy that you square on, and then maybe 2 firefight ploys?
So again, brutal backup is fantastic. The Terminal Decree is one of the bigger ones, and what this does, just for the newer players, if you're shooting an operative within 6, you basically get a balance reroll. Or if you're a gunner, so the grenade launcher or the Weber, you get this regardless of the distance. The reason why this is strong is because we don't have a lot of rerolls. So when you're moving in within 6, we want to be playing close quarters. We want to be just off an enemy. We want to be within shooting distance. So you're shooting your 4.4 shotgun. You're shooting it with the balance reroll. So you're hitting on 3s generally. So even if you are the dice are against you and you're rolling 1s and 2s, the fact you can put one through, I think the average on that is about 3 hits, and then the balance reroll is just reassuring that 3 hits is good enough to put pressure on whoever you're shooting to make sure they make their saves, and again chipping it down. So that's the second one. So so the 2 strategic plays, of course, Terminal Decree is really good. Dispense Justice is also another one where you're getting ceaseless if you don't move your thing. So as we were saying before with the subductors, they're really good because you just get them in combat, and if you do whiff as you're hitting on 4s, the ceaseless part of that really comes in. So they're the 2. There is one just to quickly mention on this, which is
go for it.
Yeah, there isn't one really that has. It's not a popular one, but it has particular play, which is the execution order. So what this does is, it's really useful for when someone finishes on a point or is on a point. You at the end of the firefight phase, or when they've performed an action, you play 1 CP, you play this execution order, and you can interrupt that activation. So to give you a real world example quickly, I was playing Wolf Scouts, new Wolf Scouts had come out. Never played this matchup. The dog, the wolf, had moved on to the point. Me knowing what the wolf does is going to charge in its strategic phase. So the fact that I can go, I'm going to activate before you. You're gonna charge, and I'm going to activate before you. So they charge in. Yeah. So they charge in. They get into combat. They get into this subductor. They think they're going to do really well with their fighting, but all of a sudden now I can fight first. Now I can shoot them before he does anything. It makes no difference if he's in combat because I can shoot into combat.
Absolute gold. Absolute gold.
Yeah,
that is so good. And what was the result of that?
Well, the result was the person playing the Wolf Scouts, Ryan from our local club. He has a thing about roof dog, where he always wants to play the dog on the roofs. And in that particular situation, I was able to shoot them with the Weber, because obviously the dog is a 5+ save. So shooting the Weber before he can fight killed the wolf before he killed the grenade launcher on high ground, which really made a difference in the game.
That is so solid. That is so solid. Pete, if you're hearing, that's something you need to do to all the Wolf Scout players, mate. Giddy up.
Just sort that dog out. That's all you do.
Exactly. Now tell me, we've gone through strategic ploys. We've gone through firefight ploys. Let's pivot to equipment for a sec. What do you love taking?
Oh, almost everything. There's so much good stuff to go through them. So the number one take that people will take is the special issue sales. And the reason why this has obviously been buffed as of late, where you once per turning point, in this case now twice a turning point, you can use Saturate, Piercing 1 if your model's a 3+ save, or Torrent 1. The reason why this is good is because if you're playing into an elite matchup, that Piercing 1 twice really makes a difference. The Saturate obviously will secure damage and take away some of those cover saves, and the Torrent 1, especially on Into the Dark and Tomb World, is really good because you're still getting lethal 5. So on your Horde teams, your Chaos Cults and that type of thing, you have got another threat of a 4/4 shotgun that's hitting 1-2 models or whatever the situation is. So it's a real positive. So yeah, special issue shells is really good. Manacles is the next one. Manacles means that if you are charged and you've tried to fall back from a fight on a 4+, you can't. Very similar to the Nemclaw one, which is really good because we just want to keep you in combat. And again, this plays into the narrative of this subductor is just going to hold you there, and you're going to be shot in combat as you're sat there trying to get out and you can't do it. Then the two not as popular ones but still have play, the reinforced mirror visors, sunglasses, so you're not affected by shock and your APL stats can't be changed. This again has really good play with your Cherrigan, really helps out into things like Brew Brothers because they've got a lot of shock. The Strobe Frostburst Lumen is probably one I take the least, but it's still there, which is you cannot re-roll any attack dice results of 1 within 2. So this is again plays into the narrative with the manacles, where you've got someone in combat, and now not only can they not fall back, not only are you fighting first and parrying twice, they also can't re-roll 1s. So they are just in this subductor tar pit where everything's just affected, and they're just staying there and getting shot. They can't reroll the 1s, they can't fall back, they're getting parried out, and you can just keep people there for the rest of the game, just chipping away at them, which is good.
That is so good. That is legitimately so good. I know why Pete plays them now. So Pete, for everyone who's listening, is a friend of mine, part of my team in the Area 51. Shout out, guys. And he plays these guys religiously along with Crute. But he's put me in a couple of precarious situations for sure with my Vespid. So it's just great to hear how someone else plays them as well, which is phenomenal. Now tell me, obviously playing defensively, staging threats, waiting for, that one little sheep that might leave the herd on your opponent's side of things. Yeah. How do you balance your crit up and your tack up strategy? So if you were to suggest to some of the players out there who are currently playing them, or budding players who wanted to play them, are there any good crit up and tack up alignment that you've found work well together?
Yeah, so it's So the new crit ops changed the game a little bit.
Completely,
because, yeah. So I find Exaction Squad, if you are extending your defensive line and you're pushing the enemy's objective, then I feel like you start to stretch thin. So any crit up that involves you sitting on a point and being able to stage round points is great. Because you've got quite a good activation you count your 11 models. The orb, for example, is quite an interesting one because you can obviously tap those points for free with the Malakator, and because of your Nuncio Aquila with your leader generally on the midpoint, you are making it even difficult for them to keep on bouncing it back because it will cost them an extra AP. So things like that really work in your favor. The classics, loot and things like that are fine. It kind of works as it does, as again using some of these tools, taking them for free, making it harder for them to take. And it does play well into the TAC ops because if, for example, you are playing on Orb, which is a popular one in our community, the TAC ops can play into this. So Envoy, for example, the enemy has to commit to keeping on these points, to keep on knocking the orb back to you. Again, it's harder with Nuncio Aquila. You're doing it for free. They're not doing it for free in some cases. So playing Envoy, it means at the other side of the map, you've now got a dog that's burning into their area. Now that threat range for the second turning point, you're scoring an easy 2 on your second turning point. And then because you out-activate a lot of the teams, you can then just activate the next model where you can push forward. You have a subductor on the far side. So Envoy's really good and plays in some of the crit ops. The main one we are playing at the moment is the Banner. Which is really good because you find a good point on a map and you put that down. Oh. So if you're putting it down on a midpoint where the idea is you're sitting on that point for the crit op and then you're placing a banner, and again you're making it harder for them to come and take it, and you've got everything staged behind 2 or 3 subductors. If they want to come and contest your banner, they can, but they're going to be in combat with the subductor, and then we go back into that same conversation where they can't fall back, they can't do anything, they're getting manacles, they can't reroll ones, you're getting shot into combat, there's brutal backup, there's the dog, there's so it's again playing on your terms. The crit op is great. We've lost a little bit of ground in regards to the crit ops, but the TAC ops I feel are just as good as last time, and again try playing them on your terms. So look at the crit op, understand what the victory conditions, because I really struggled with this as a player and as a new player to Exaction, which is understanding the win condition. I still struggle now because I struggle with reading all these words and it's actually could be put into 2 sentences, which is tap more points, control more points, and that would register a little bit easier. So as a new player, understand the corrupt, understand how to win, and play towards that on your terms.
Gold. And tell me, did you play them where there were faction specific TAC ops? Were you playing them back then at all?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. I came in last year, so I relatively short time on them in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, we used to when I picked them up, where it was the take ground was quite a popular one, or contain. Yeah. Contain used to be fantastic for us because we'd just be like, yep, we're just going to stay in cover and you're going to come towards us, and yeah, you're going to get tied up and then we're going to shoot you. So
that's solid. But they had a faction specific TAC op, if I remember correctly, called Take the Hostage. And right. It was literally where you yeeted someone off the board. It was funny.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And tell me, from a understanding of, crit ops that work for them and crit ops that don't work for them, are there any that are favored less by the Exaction Squad in terms of crit op?
Yeah, to be honest, it becomes quite difficult when you've got to go onto the other side of the board. So I'm always not a fan of state claim. So state claim, you can obviously point out which ones you're going to take and which ones you are not. And a good player is always going to leave their objective to the last one. So you want to play the slow game. You want to punish mistakes. They're putting pressure on you to come out. So state claim, again, it's if you kill enough models in the first few turning points, then you can start to push forward and take that. But I always struggle with that one in particular because, again, they know what they're doing. They're predicting what they're doing. So, yeah, they're kind of forcing you to break that defensive line. So, State Claim I always struggled with in particular.
What would be your favourites?
Orb is fantastic.
You just sit on the middle point.
Yeah, exactly. Because it plays into all our factions. So you sit on the midpoint, which again you overpower, and your Malachita sits on your point, and you just tap that for free. Unless they out-activate you, which you're talking teams like Brew Brothers or Crew, they will struggle to keep on hitting the ball back to you. And even if they do hit the ball back to you, and they start to do that, they run the risk again of being wrapped up into a blob of subductors, and the fact that you can do that and just constantly send that orb across. I know orb gets a lot of flack. A lot of people really hate orb, and it's usually elite players with not many models. But I really like orb. I think it's very tactical. It's very map dependent as well in some cases. I think some maps are better than others for us because again you can stage safely.
And look, down under, we love orb. We've got the guys here in different pockets around Sydney, like actually creating an orb to actually ping pong between the objective markers. So it's quite warm and friendly down here. But have you ever gotten into a situation with a like against elites where they've only got counteracts and you've still got activations, and you essentially just ping pong it back into their zone up until they can't activate anymore? That's just the end of turning point. You've scored. You've scored your points?
Yes, it's exactly that. But this is why to bring you back to a little bit towards TAC-op, both the Envoy TAC-op and the Orb Crit-op play really well together because you just out-activate. So on Orb, you are just going to, is this your last counteract? Yep, cool. Right, so now I'm just going to ping this Orb to you. I've scored one on Crit. Envoy is the same situation with TAC-ops, where you can just go, is this your last activation? Yep, cool. I'm going to move my dog into safety, and I'm going to score 2 TAC-op. So it means on the second turning point, when the points come live, you are easily scoring 1 on crit-up because you've out-activate. You're easily scoring 2 on TAC-op because you out-activate. And if you've staged correctly and you've done the blobs, they're not going to contest the midpoint and your point, which means you're probably scoring a second crit up in some cases. So it means you're scoring, almost maxing out the crit up, and you're almost maxing out your tack up. I mean, this is very situational, but it puts you in a really strong position just playing that. And again, you're playing on your terms, so you've got more models. It pressures the opponent to come and fight you where they don't want to, or spread thin to stop you from envoying, which is really good. So yeah,
that's solid. And mix of your crit op, your kill op, and your tack op, what are you scoring on average? I mean, given the defensive positioning, is kill op something you forsake a few points on to maximize on crit and tack?
Yeah, so it becomes a game because again, our weakest matchups are generally more the elite teams. That Death Watch are really difficult to deal with, just because we don't have the punch power and they're saving really well. So this is, again, you've got to play less of I'm probably not going to kill you, and you're probably going to kill me in some regards. You'll find a way with your special ammo and stuff like that with Death Watch. So it becomes I'm going to play things that I don't really need to engage you with. So kill up is usually one, unless it's a weaker team, your groups, for example, where you can shoot. There's plenty of models. You can use your torrent. You can start to walk through some of these models. That's the only time when kill up would become a thing. Your seductors are saving on freeze generally with their shields, so they're doing really good defensive work. So that's where the kill up comes in. Generally, you're taking tack up. Crit up is dependent on what crit up you're playing, the map you're playing, the opponent, and what threats they have to it. So yeah, if it was coming in order of primary ops, I'd probably be going tack up most of the time. Crit up is not far behind that. Kill up generally isn't played, so to speak, depending on the size and the save characteristics of your enemy.
And primaries, where are you pointing that most of the time?
Mainly tack. I feel like Envoy and Banner are such powerful tac ops, it's almost impossible for some teams to fight against them. Again, Envoy on the tac op is just uncontestable for small teams. Banner are just sometimes uncontestable because of the other tools you have to make that difficult. And people just are petrified of subductors. Petrified of them. So the fact that when you've got 2 or 3 of them at a banner, people look at that and go, do you know what? I'm just going to let you have that. Just don't want to fight you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just kind of pivoting over into teams now, like matchups.
Yeah.
So you mentioned elite teams. You've called out Deathwatch. They're a little bit of a challenge for you to play against.
Yeah.
Your team is good for the lower count models, like we touched on at the start. So like what Horde teams are a walk in the park for Exaction?
It's difficult to say. So I like to think that some teams, the higher the wound count, the lower the lower the wound count, the higher the saves, better for us. So when people are saving on 4s and 5s, your elves, for example, and they can die, anything that's got wound counts that are divisible by 4 with your shotguns, you generally can hurt stuff. You are, as again, I think I did the math on it, which is if you're shooting with a shotgun, you're hitting on freeze, which gives you sort of like at least a 60% success rate. You're probably missing one of them shots, and then if you're playing certain strategic plays, you are getting that reroll. So if you're hitting between 3, on a good day 4 shots, you're almost killing everything that you're shooting with an 8 wounds and a not so good save. So that really is a good play. Also, we like melee teams as well in some regards. Not too much Felgor, because Felgor are horrible with the fact that they just don't die. But one team in particular was Goremongers. So Goremongers were an absolute menace until they declassified and removed some of the older teams. I played against my good friend El when we played quite a lot, and we're currently 1-1 with Exaction and Goremongers, because he wants to come into close range, he wants to be in combat, and I want him to be in combat because I'm just going to parry everything. So we love that matchup. We absolutely love it. Apart from the Goremonger players have now started to learn that sometimes the weak point is shooting. So being able to shoot subductors is a lot easier than trying to fight them, which caught me off guard at a tournament one time. So yeah.
And what about Ravagers? Have you had any interesting matchups against those guys?
Felgor or the
Felgor.
Yeah, so I've played Felgor a handful of times. Jason Zammit from the Nots Kill team played really well with them. They're difficult to deal with, mainly because you can get them into combat, you can tie them up and parry them and do what you need to do. But the fact that they don't die as such, I mean, you can play around it because you've got things like severe and so forth and punishing, so you can start to try and stack stuff up. But because of the volume of models and because of their particular archetypes that they can play, it becomes messy. That they generally play in flank. They're going to overpower you. They're probably not going to die if you do manage to kill the initial part, and they're going to frenzy. So I played it once or twice, and it was not a fun matchup, and I can understand a little bit why. There is a bit of math to it, I think, where I think you have to play extremely soft and try and kind of hold off. But then on the flip side, that's what they want you to do, because they're probably playing flank. So they want you to hold off, and they're going to overpower APL on one side of the board. You want to be on their side of the board. You've got to get through them. They're not dying. Can't get through them. So that's kind of how I envision if I played more of those matchups, it would be more of trying to break their line, which is really difficult to do. Yeah.
And hey, speaking of not dying, have you had a crack against Canoptech yet?
Yes, I've played Chronoptic. The very, very powerful team. I think they do quite well into Chronoptic in some regards, just because if you are staging well and you are getting them into combat, you again can parry quite well, and you can try and outlast them, which is a real difficult thing to do, because obviously all the healing shenanigans they have. I've not won, so I don't know how much it is, but I didn't find the matchup difficult. And because we have a high model count, they can only shoot and kill one of you. One of these big tomb crawler guys can only kill one of you. So if you're doubling up your characters, which is kind of the plan I had at the time, was to move 2 subductors. You can only kill one of them. Then I'm going to get you in combat. Then I can follow up. It's almost, I think, how did I describe it the other week? I was trying to explain it where the wave format I would use is the second wave is a little bit slower than the first. You throw your first wave in, they tie up the tomb crawlers, you might lose a model, and then your specialists are in a position where they can come out and do damage. It's all about placing your models and all about trying to stage in a position where you can capitalize on people that have been caught up in combat. But it's really, they're a really good team. I can imagine it's difficult. We used to struggle with Necrons in general just because they just keep on coming back to life, and
higher attack,
higher attack, and the 3+ saves again, or whatever they added before, and the piercing 1 doesn't help subductors. So there's just a lot to going on.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, look, with a lot of teams, I mean, positioning and making sure you're staging effectively is keen. It seems like you need to be a little bit more on point with Exaction, right? Because there are so many elements that you kind of need to kind of guess what's about to come around the corner potentially, and make sure you've got enough models there or a particular model there to mitigate the risk, right?
Yeah, so it's one of the things that I've probably not touched on as much, but you touch on it there, using our tokens that we can put on. So your severe token from your Malachite Lethal 5, you also have the Mark for Justice, which gives punishing. So it's very thematic, but it's almost like a targeted approach. So having an understanding of, I'm going to put my punishing token on this person, which kind of points out where you're going to go, but then following up with a severe and all these other bits, you can tactical strike certain models. And if you're choosing your targets well and you're following up on those opportunities, you can start to make teams crumble because you're deleting key models that do really well. And the example of this was I recently played against Chronoptic. We were playing on Tomb World, using the Malachite to help break open a wall and stun the characters, the warriors, what they're called, the little machine robots on the other side, really affects them because now they're -1 APL. They've got to try and change. They've got to make movements. So being a bit more tactical and on point, I think, is where Exaction really shine. If this is my target, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stack buffs and positives on it. I'm going to take that person out. That person's done. Right, now we move on to the next, and you aim and target individual models, so to speak.
Yeah, that's solid. I mean, making sure you've got all your ducks lined up is really important, right? And by ducks, I don't necessarily mean your opponent's models. I mean, essentially, buffing where it's required to be able to do some serious damage, I mean, is key, especially when they've got it all sitting there ready to use, right? You've just got to remember to use it. I mean, I was playing my first game of Tal Stealth Battlesuits against one of my friends, and I literally forgot that, within 6 inches I had AP2. So, making sure you remember things like that is really important, right? And from a brain load side of things, Jonny, do you reckon they're a high brain load team, intermediate, or low?
They're a mid. They can be mid. There's a lot of things going off, a lot of things to remember, and if you're a caveman like me, it's not always simple to remember what's going off. One of the things I struggle with, this is the tip for more new players, I obviously got the cards. I find the cards easier to read rather than scrolling through the phone because we've got 11 models. Some of those models I've got chunky bits of text. You're spending a lot of time trying to find a certain model with a certain wording and a certain kind of card. So having the cards in front of me, putting the cards out, physically seeing what I can do is great, and it really helps with the mind, the cognitive load of it. The only negative of that is you have a lot of cards, so taking the cards you're not playing really helps. So I'd say they're a mid team. They can become, I think, as you get into more competitive play, they start to push up into high brain load. But hey, I've had fun with just kind of switching off and just kind of rolling with shotguns and just running up to stuff and shooting stuff. So it's about having fun more than anything else, and that's what I'd advise anyone to do wanting to pick the team up. Don't overthink it. Literally just get your cool Judge Dredd models, run up, and shoot things. You just have so much fun with it. So much fun.
So the good rule of cool, great models, Judge Dredd, run up, and stage threats. Yeah.
Yeah, Yep, that's exactly that. There is one thing I didn't mention. I should have mentioned this as well. One of our tac ops is arguably one of the most annoying ones in the game, which it extends the range on when you can shoot people, and it catches people off. So instead of being within 2 to shoot someone, we now can shoot within 4. It's called Guilt Reveals Itself, and that's just it's probably a really nice ploy that you can use. And as new players coming in, that's the one I would probably tell you to master, to try and understand how that process works. Not only is it teaching you distances, which is a massive thing for new players, is understanding that if I move and I dash and I've got free APL because I've got comms or whatever, you don't need to be within 2. That gives you that little bit of leeway and catches a few people off. Okay, by all means, tell them you can do it at the beginning of the game, but it does create problems. It's a real good team, and that's a really good ploy for new people just to focus on.
And that's a 5-5 ploy, yeah?
Yeah. No, it's a strategic ploy. You play at the beginning of a.
Oh, it's a strat ploy. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a strat ploy.
And everybody gets it.
Every person gets it. Anyone within 4.
That is phenomenal.
That's actually. You mentioned stealth suits. Stealth suits are interesting because obviously they don't want to be shot, so they can't be shot. Sorry, so they want to stand back. So it creates this weird matchup where it's like, I want to be close to you, you don't want me to be close to you, so that's in my favor. But in order for me to come close to you, I need to be in your area of vantage 2, or whatever it's called, accurate 2.
Yeah. Accurate.
So so you're in this weird play style. It's like, well, I want to come closer, but I don't want to come closer, and you want me to come closer, but I don't want to come closer. And it stands off, so it becomes a weird. And I don't think the Guilt Reveals Itself works because you can't be shot within 3 with stealth suits. Yeah, so that 1 inch does change the play style a little bit. But stealth suits are quite interesting because again, most of their models are divisible by 4-week shotguns. So if you can shoot them, they will die.
True story.
Which is good.
True story,
Yeah.
except for the leader.
Yeah,
so we've spoken about we've spoken about the good. What's the bad?
The bad, we don't like being shot. We genuinely don't want to be shot. I'll give you a bit more context to what I was saying earlier. So it was at one of the tournaments, Turning Point Tactics. We were going through this. I have a friend, Elliot, who went to the World Championships in America. He's I think he's #1 Gormonger player. The first match we played, he doesn't know Exaction Squad very well. It was a fun match for me because Goremongers go on auto mode. They want to charge. They want to fight. My subductors love that. I'm just going to parry you and I'm going to kill you. So that first match, the Goremonger player, was, how do I beat these guys? The second match, Elle had gone away, done the research, done everything he needs to do. Goremongers are surprisingly good at shooting. They've got quite a few. So now the second match, I'm sat waiting for him to come and fight me. Okay, cool, we'll fight. But instead of fighting me, they are just shooting me. And and because of that, it doesn't play into my... So now I'm dying. And because I wasn't expecting the Goremonger player to use shooting, I didn't take the cherry gun. So because the cherry gun didn't go, my guys were dying, and that cost me the match. So as I say, we were 1-1 tied in that situation, just because getting shot is quite difficult. So again, to put that into something a bit more palatable for newer players, if you are getting shot, you're probably positioning wrong, and wrong's the wrong word. You probably need to just look at your positioning and look at your threat ranges. Not going so far forward in the first activation, and I think I was told back in the day, you don't need to win the game in the first turning point. So not being so aggressive and just pre-measuring a little bit and going, okay, so this person, by the second turning point, they can get to that midline. They can shoot me if I'm too close to a door or whatever situation you're in. So not progressing so far forward and not give them that first or second turn shot means you can then get into combat with them. And again, it's that old pacing and slowly building up into getting into combat. If you're getting shot, you probably need to look at your positioning.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, far out. And look, we've spoken about the bad. Is there anything ugly?
Oh, anything ugly? Inquisition are a nightmare because they can just turn everything. I want to shoot you within 4. No, you're not.
Oh, wow.
So they just turn a lot of stuff off. And again, piercing weapons and being shot is really difficult for us. Harfikin salvages are very difficult as well. The fact that they can just stack up those grudge tokens. You're a slow play team. You're going to build up. You want to be pushing on the third and fourth turning point. By that point, the little dwarves are saving on freeze. We don't like that number. When they shoot you, they are guaranteeing at least 1 or 2 crits or whatever the grudge tokens give you. The leader in that team as well, if you kill him, he bounces back up. Very much like the Wolf Scouts. Wolf Scouts leader is quite a problem as well. You've got to invest quite a bit. So anything that kind of can guarantee, like I think we said the original Hyrotech Circle, they were quite difficult because again, saving on freeze, regenerating, they can take piercing 1 weapons. Phobos were very similar back in the day because they all have piercing crits, lethal 5. So they of course are moving, they're shooting twice, they are killing a subductor on a good roll. They're killing a second subductor on a good roll. They can influence their dice. It's anything like that is really ugly for us sometimes.
Solid. And recommendations for people to play them and why they would play them? Is it seriously because like the feeling I get when I've been playing them before, they're pretty much a surprise team, right? You never know what you're going to get out of them. And if you're silly enough to run up into them, they'll deal with you effectively, right?
Yeah, in our club in Yorkshire, shout out to all the Yorkshire folk. But they, when you're playing Exaction Squad, they're very gatekeepy. If you're a newer player, Exaction Squad are a massive problem. You don't really know how to deal with them. As you start to get more into the game and you start to understand mechanics and you start to understand Exaction Squad, there is play against them. So it's one of those things where they break conventional kill team rules, and I think that kind of what throws a lot of people off. The fact you can shoot into combat messes with people because you're one of these. There's not many teams that can shoot into combat. So having a lot of people's gameplay, like another really good matchup for us is Nemesis Claw, and that's interesting because they want to hug Claw, as it's called, where they hide in combat. That doesn't work on us. So like me playing in a tournament, and you're coming across these more popular teams that love to be in combat, all of a sudden that entire game plan that they've been playing for 3-4 months for this tournament, they've played 2 or 3 matches before me, all working with this hiding in combat mechanic. They all of a sudden they have got to think outside the box. They have to stand back. They have to respect it, and that's probably a good way of describing it. Is you have to respect Exaction Squad, because if you don't, they will just bully you. They'll tie you up, shoot you, they'll tap you, the dog will bite you. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, or in this case, shotguns.
Shotguns and shields, right? Maybe a dog bite.
Exactly.
That is gold. Jonny, thank you so much for making yourself available for our very first episode of Faction Framework. Mate, we're at the top of the hour. I know there's a lot going on in your scene. Do you want to tell us about a couple of events that are coming up and, why people should keep an eye on Yorkshire?
Yeah, so Yorkshire's an up and coming. We are one of the bigger groups in the north of the UK. We do, in the UK, have more groups than just in London. I know that's the popular place, but we have quite a good selection of communities across the UK. Our club in general, we did an event yesterday, which is good. We're slowing down a little bit for Christmas coming up, but we do have a Christmas event. There is a big event that I do want to shout out in particular, which is in February. We have what we call Strong and Northern, which is our very first 64-man event. The north is quite spread out in regards to its dense population. So the fact that we can run a 64-man event and we have to call in favours for people to come in, it's going to be great. There'll be photos. I'll certainly post photos for everyone to see. But that's the big one. Strong and Northern on the early February, which is going to be one of our bigger, more flagship events. And hopefully we can see quite a few of the UK people, and we've had people fly in from France and other bits to come to our events. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Fantastic, Jonny. Thanks again. Massive shout out to Yorkshire. And team, stay tuned as we bring you another episode to really get an understanding and a deep dive on further factions. Thanks again, and catch you on the show soon.